Hello and welcome to another video for Midas Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today we're looking at something very, very exciting indeed. We are looking at an original copy of the 1973 Doctor Who colouring book, which starred Jon Pertwee as the Doctor, and is probably the hardest of all of the colouring books to find. Now, those of you that watch our videos regularly, you know that we've already done a video on the facsimile version of these, which was released in 2013 for the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. They produced a very small quantities of the facsimile ones, and we've already reviewed that. But this particular one we're looking at today, I'm so excited because this is an original 1973 version of the Doctor Who colouring book, and it was one of my favourite books that I had as a child, so it absolutely means a lot to me. So anyway, this is the front cover, and it says the Doctor Who colouring book, and there you can see an image of Jon Pertwee standing in the TARDIS, and that image is lifted from the TV episode of Time Monster. Okay, and it says Doctor Who colouring book, 10 pence, which was the cover price on the top right hand corner. The image of Pertwee in the TARDIS, and at the bottom you've got a couple of paint brushes and some pens, and it says authorised edition as seen on BBC TV. So that's the front cover. Let's just turn it over and see what we got on the back. Yep, exactly the same on the back, except for the fact that at the very bottom it gives you the SBN number, which in this case is 7235 32966. Same image, Doctor Who colouring book. It doesn't have the 10 pence price mark on the back here. It's got the two colour pens at the top, and it's got the colour pen and the two paint brushes at the bottom, and it also says authorised edition as seen on BBC TV, and the same image of Jon Pertwee in the TARDIS, and I'll say lifted from the episode of the Time Monster. Okay, so that's the front and back of the covers. Let's open it up and let's have a look inside. Okay, so I've opened the front cover, and you can already see that the cover started to change colour, so it's not white anymore. It has started to tan, which was normal with these books because of the type of paper that was used, and obviously the age. The pages are now, what are we talking about, 51 years old, so they do discolour. It wasn't the best of paper that they used back in the day. It was quite cheap paper in order to make these books very cheap for kids to buy, I suppose. Okay, so this is the opening page, and it says the Doctor Who colouring book, and there's an image of Jon Pertwee standing there, and there's planets in the background, and it's got World Distributors Manchester Limited on the bottom of the page. So let's turn the page over to the first one. And we have got an image of the Doctor and an image of, I believe that's Joe Grant. It does look like a combination between Joe and Liz Shaw, though. Because it's 1973 when this was come out, it has to be Joe, because Liz Shaw was only in the first series 1970. So yeah, it's got to be Joe Grant. Okay, so the Doctor and Joe Grant. Again, available to colour or paint, whatever your preference is. And then we move in. Now, this is I wouldn't say it's a full story, but it is a loose story, let's say. It loosely tells the story of the Third Doctor and Joe and Unit, and they battle aliens, historical figures. There's a giant octopus in there somewhere, I think, and so on. So it's the images are kind of like connected, and you can make up your own story as you go along if you like. So you can see these is connected. Joe and the Doctor are walking along the edge of a cliff there, and then they found a cave that they're going into, and then there's a monster inside the cave, and there's someone that looks a bit like Captain Kirk behind a rock there. Maybe it's a tie-in with Star Trek and Doctor Who, you never know. And there's the humans, or the Captain Kirk figure's friends, and they're shooting the alien. And there's again the Doctor standing in front of some trees with a little smile on his face. And there he is, he's on his map, checking for coordinates, I'd imagine. And then we've got Joe and the Doctor, and they come outside the TARDIS, which is just in the background there. And there's a planet behind them. This has been started. Someone started to colour that in a little bit, but not much. And then there's in the cockpit of an alien spaceship by the looks of things, and there is that spaceship there, and it's taken off, and there's someone's house there, and they just see the ship going up from behind them. And there's those aliens that just took off from their ship, and they've parked their ship down there. They look, I suppose they're supposed to be like the Ogrons. I think they look similar to what the Ogrons look like. And there's Unit. They're attacking Earth, so Unit are now involved, and they're shooting down the baddies. And I believe there's Sergeant Benton and his men. And there's a Unit helicopter at the top there, and there's a Doctor who's kicked the gun out of his hand, and there's a brig standing behind him. And there we've got a Doctor with bubbles going all around him, and obviously it's started to be colour. And there's a nice one that's been coloured, and that's the Doctor and Joe, and they're hiding behind a rock with a monster. Looks like a dinosaur is chasing them, and that dinosaur is still chasing them on this page. Another thing with this paper back in the day, you did get bleed through. So if you coloured one page with felt tip pen, it would tend to bleed through onto the page behind it. So that was a shame. That was one of the things that was a bit of a disappointment with these books. And then you've got the Doctor and Joe in the TARDIS. Then you've got an alien and a Doctor looking at a mask or something. Doctor arrives, steps out the TARDIS, and there's a gladiator there, and he's on horseback there with a gladiator, and there he is still riding along, and there's a few of them now, a few gladiators that have joined in. And there's a Doctor in the Unit helicopter, Doctor and Joe again, and someone started to colour that and left it alone. There's a Doctor, looks like he's concentrating on something, and there he is pulling Joe out of a submarine with the Unit troops standing behind him in the brig. And or maybe they're going into the submarine, because there's the submarine going off, the Unit submarine. And that's the Doctor and Joe at the helm of the Unit submarine. And they get caught by this giant octopus, as I said earlier. And that giant octopus is still holding them in these two pictures. And then finally, the Doctor or the submarine shoots the octopus. And there is the Doctor, and I suppose it's someone from Atlantis, maybe. And there's the Doctor and Joe, and they arrive back safely. And the Doctor gets in Bessie, his car, to drive off. And then Doctor and Unit, the Doctor in the lab. I think there was actually a jigsaw, or one very similar to that. And then there's the Doctor and Joe on a planet, and there's a dinosaur maybe, or a lizard of some kind, breaking through or hatching from an egg. And there's the lizard with a rider on his back. And there's that alien who was riding the lizards. And he's fighting off the pterodactyls. And then they're on a lake, and let's call it Nessie comes out the lake. Looks like a big dinosaur again. And then they're being walked off to camp. And there's Doctor and Joe again at Unit HQ. And then a telescope or some kind of observatory there maybe. And then they're overlooking what looks like the Dalek city. And there's a Doctor about to enter into the city. But it's not Daleks, it's people with strange headgear on. And there's the Doctor smiling, and there's the Doctor with another octopi. And another one again there, and there's the brig and his troops. And there's a Doctor on the bike, and that was actually lifted from Day of the Daleks. And then there's a satellite. And then they're in the control room of some kind of control centre. Oh, a space centre in actual fact. And there's a Doctor in his spacesuit, and he's outside of the spaceship correcting something. and then he's laughing at the end where he's finished all his work. So there we have it. That is the original 1973 Doctor Who colouring book. Now, a lot of those images that we saw were lifted from publicity stills from Day of the Daleks, Terror of the Autons, Frontier in Space, and of course the cover photograph was from the Time Monster. So, and they've put them together in a colouring book to make a kind of a story, and you make the story up as you go along and colour them as you like. So, absolutely brilliant book this. It's a very simple colouring book. There wasn't a lot to it. But as a child, it kept you entertained for a long, long time. So how well did these do back in the day? Well, they done fabulous. It was Doctor Who. Everybody was in a Doctor Who. Everybody who was anybody was in a Doctor Who. It was a big, big time for Doctor Who. The 60s, the 70s, and to some extent, the early 80s, up to mid-80s was a very, very big time for Doctor Who. It was a massive, massive programme, and lots of merchandise. Lots of annuals were released over the years. There was merchandise right back to the 60s that was produced, and in the 70s, and then again in the not then until the 90s, I'm afraid. I don't think there's any figures or anything like that produced in the 80s. But yeah, these books were a staple diet for everyone who liked Doctor Who. Colouring books, unfortunately, though, don't usually survive the test of time because they've been done, they've been coloured. You bend the pages back, you sometimes tear the picture out. So they don't have a tendency to survive the test of time, which is why this particular one is probably the rarest of all of the Doctor Who books at the moment. Yeah, not very many of them survived, and the ones that have, you find that most of the pages have been coloured and completed, or there's scribble all over them, or the book's tatty and torn and worn and all over the place. But so finding one of these books in any condition is an achievement. Finding one that's in as good as condition as this is, well, very, very difficult indeed. And I'm sad to say, this is the only one that we have. But this particular book is, or will be, available to purchase on the My Such website as soon as we finish shooting this video. And you can get to the My Such website simply by clicking the link below, which will take you straight to the website where you'll be able to find this and many other vintage Doctor Who items and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. It will be something for everybody. I'm absolutely positive that you won't want to miss this, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new products which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there's something in particular you are looking for, something old that you've never been able to find, something quirky you might want to buy for a friend, or maybe just something from your childhood that you like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost memories, just like this one has for me. Well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. And believe me when I say, we have got some absolutely awesome and amazing items coming through. So stay tuned, keep watching, and you will not be disappointed, because they are amazing. Our team are working tireless behind the scenes to get these items ready to be uploaded onto the website and for videos to be shot. So keep watching, and hopefully you'll enjoy the content. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed joining me to review this book. Thank you for watching, and we will see you again next time.